How about what Benzino was raving about this morning? So when Benzino did that issue of the source, like the crazy Eminem issue of the source, right? I wrote some things. I talked to Harry Allen. Like I really got in. I did some work on it. Some reporting on it. And I mean, I killed the issue just like everybody killed the issue because the issue was so unnecessarily personal. And the years that have passed since that issue of the source have pointed out something very, very fascinating, which is like it speaks to how problematic the presentation of the issues in that issue of the source were. And for those of you who don't know, the source did an issue where they had with somebody like ripping Eminem's head off on the back cover. Like it was just a straight hit job. Like, and it featured a Harry Allen essay that if you go back and read is actually very good, but at the time was lumped in with the rest of the packaging of it, and it just seemed like an absolute hit job on Eminem. It effectively ended the source. Like the reign of the source ended that day. The credibility went out the window, and it seemed to largely be a byproduct of the fact that Ray Benzino believed that the culture was in danger and that Eminem had gone unchecked for too long. And this was speaking to the demise of the culture and that black folks was about to get boxed out of the game. And it's a lot harder in 2014 to say he's crazy than it was in 2003. I mean, it's really difficult to do. I mean, there were a lot of other questions that people had about Ray's like permanent, his vendettas in the source and the way they handled the advertising of his own group and the 4.5 mics for the Made Men album and all of that stuff. But that ain't got nothing to do with what we're talking about, right? Like, it's almost a tragedy that all that other stuff happened, especially to someone who ran a magazine, because the idea that someone who ran a magazine that was considered to be the most trusted in the game at the time couldn't muster the credibility to get these points across is like a really fascinating thing to look back on. And it's a damn shame because look at where we are right now. I mean, look at where we are. Like, one of Ray's points was that Eminem is just, rapping about his emotion and rapping about his feelings, and they sold all these copies. And Ray's like, yo, we can't get out here rapping about how we feel. And now you go look at Macklemore and the stuff about addiction and everything else and all the stuff that he raps about. Hey, man, ain't no black people rapping about that really making no money. Like, the infuriating part of the people who look at Macklemore and then say, well, it's easy to see now. Rap doesn't have to be misogynistic and da-da-da. And it's almost like, yeah, it doesn't have to be those things, especially if you're white. But there have been plenty of positive black rappers that have been putting heat out there, and they never caught on mainstream. They never did. But the dude that's slapping bitches and pimping hoes, I mean, that's always sold. Like the NWA stuff, like that's sold. Like that worked. It went. It was ridiculous. It was completely out of hand. But it went. So it's like incredibly disingenuous to then come back and say, see, rap can work, da-da-da. We ain't the reason that that stuff hasn't sold because we ain't the reason that anything does or does not sell. And never have been. Never. Right? And so you got to look at all of that, and you got to look back at the stuff that Benzino was talking about, and he said, yo, I told y'all this was coming. He was right. You take it another step further. He mentioned in one of these interviews that he staged with these photo shoots that were centered around him and his, facial, all these facial expressions and stuff. But he talked about Pharrell making a comparison between Justin Timberlake and Marvin Gaye, and he's like, yo, dude, it's just too soon. And I went to that Justin Timberlake Jay-Z show. I saw the way that they were setting him up. I see the way they try to put him out there as this like multi-instrumental musical genius. I'm peeping game, and it's a con. It's a con. Now consider that stuff and then think about what's going on. Think about what Benzino said. Put it all together. Yo, man, it's real easy to dismiss Ray, but we have to look back at the stuff that Benzino was saying at the time, and we got to recognize that he was right about a lot. And to a degree, it is our fault for not being able to look past the packaging of what he was talking about to see his core points. At the same time, there's a reason why you package things as well as possible, because your message gets lost. Like, I don't think that he did a good job of communicating the message. The message that was ultimately underlying, in spite of personal levels of jealousy and everything else that may have been there, at the core was intellectual argument that holds up. Like, at the core of what Ray said, there's something that you can hold on to and something that still carries on. And right now, yo, man, he can take a victory lap because he was right.